rest of his days. His little girl remained to him, and though she was not what he had desired, he proposed to himself to make the best of her. She had been named Catherine, as a matter of course, after her poor mother. She grew up a very robust and healthy child, and her father, as he looked at her, often said to himself that, such as she was, he at least need have no fear of losing her. I say such as she was because, to tell the truth, but this is a truth of which I will defer the telling. When the child was about 10 years old, he invited his sister, Mrs. Penniman, to come and stay with him. The Miss Slopers had been but 2 in number, and both of them had married early in life. The younger, Mrs. Almond by name, was the wife of a prosperous merchant and the mother of a blooming family. She bloomed herself, indeed, and was a comely, comfortable, reasonable woman, and a favorite with her clever brother. He preferred Mrs. Almond to his sister Lavinia, who had married a poor clergyman of a sickly constitution and a flowery style of eloquence, and then, at the age of 33, had been left a widow, without children, without fortune, with nothing but the memory of Mr. Penniman's flowers of speech. Nevertheless, he had offered her a home under his own roof, which Lavinia accepted with alacrity. The doctor had not proposed to Mrs. Penniman to come and live with him indefinitely, but she settled herself with her brother and never went away, and when Catherine was 20 years old, her Aunt Lavinia was still one of the most striking features of her immediate entourage. Mrs. Penniman's own account of the matter was that she had remained to take charge of her niece's education. She had given this account at least to everyone but the doctor, who never asked for explanations which he could entertain himself any day with inventing. He assented tacitly, however, to the proposition which Mrs. Penniman had tacitly laid down, that it was of importance that the poor motherless girl should have a brilliant woman near her. His assent could only be tacit, for he had never been dazzled by his sister's intellectual luster. Once, when the girl was about 12 years old, he had said to Mrs. Penniman, "Try and make a clever woman of her, Lavinia. I should like her to be a clever woman." Mrs. Penniman at this looked thoughtful a moment. "Oh, my dear Austen," she then inquired, "do you think it's better to be clever than to be good?" "Well, of course I wish Catherine to be good," the doctor replied, "but she won't be any the less virtuous for not being a fool." Mrs. Penniman was a tall, thin, fair, rather faded woman with a perfectly amiable disposition. She was romantic. She was sentimental. She had a passion for little secrets and mysteries, a very innocent passion, for her secrets had hitherto always been as unpractical as addled eggs. She would have liked to have a lover, and to correspond with him under an assumed name, in letters left at a shop. I'm bound to say that her imagination never carried the intimacy further than this. Mrs. Penniman had never had a lover, but her brother, who was very shrewd, understood her turn of mind. "When Catherine is about 17, he said to himself, Lavinia will try and persuade her that some young man with a moustache is in love with her. It will be quite untrue, but no young man with a moustache or without will ever be in love with Catherine." Catherine was a healthy, well-grown child without a trace of her mother's beauty. She was not ugly. She had simply a plain, dull, gentle countenance. The most that had ever been said for her was that she had a nice face, and though she was an heiress, no one had ever thought of regarding her as a belle. Her father's opinion of her moral purity was abundantly justified. She was excellently, imperturbably good, affectionate, docile, obedient, and much addicted to speaking the truth. In her younger years she was a good deal of a romp, and though it is an awkward confession to make about one's heroine, I must add that she was something of a glutton. She never, that I know of, stole raisins out of the pantry, but she devoted her pocket money to the purchase of cream cakes. She was extremely fond of her father, and very much afraid of him. She thought him the cleverest and handsomest and most celebrated of men. What she could not know, of course, was that she disappointed him. She grew up peacefully and prosperously, but at the age of 18, Mrs. Penniman had not made a clever woman of her. Dr. Sloper would have liked to be proud of his daughter, but there was nothing to be proud of in poor Catherine. There would have been a fitness in her being pretty and graceful, intelligent and distinguished.